Hello and welcome to another writing vlog. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I am currently writing my very first book. And today I'm going to start draft 3. I finished writing draft 2 about a month ago and I let it sit for almost a month and then I picked it back up and read it. I made revisions and I just finished plotting and working on character arcs, and now I'm ready to start writing again. And the next step is draft 3. I have to say I'm really excited about writing draft 3. I think it is going to be a lot better than my previous 2 drafts, so I can't wait to get started. This vlog will be a little bit different than previous vlogs, only for 2 reasons. First, I don't have a lot of time over the next week to write. I am extremely busy. I have a lot of appointments and things I need to do. And typically when I do vlogs, I have long periods of time where I can sit down and write. It can be entire afternoons and evenings or an entire weekend. And I just simply can't do that. So this is going to be spread out over a larger period of time, but I will be checking in with commentary about how I think things are going and any thoughts I have during the process. Secondly, this draft is just going to be a lot different than drafts 1 and 2. With drafts 1 and 2, I was really trying to spit out a story and write it as quickly as possible. And I used the same approach for both drafts because basically they were both brand new books. After writing book 1 and reading it, I was so unhappy with it that I decided to scrap most of it and rewrite it. So then I wrote draft 2. And now I'm at a place where I'm not really rewriting a book. I'm improving the story. And I think this is going to make the process a lot slower because I am going to have to think of a variety of things while I'm writing, not just the story. I'm going to be focusing on putting in this new plot line that I developed over my planning and revisions. I'm going to be focusing on doing a better job of incorporating my character arcs and putting in any little details that I may have missed in the previous draft. There's going to be a lot more thought in this, and there's going to be a lot more of analyzing in terms of the sentences, like does it convey what it needs to convey, and does the sentence structure sound right, and just overall, is this reading better than the previous chapter in draft 2? I'm interested to see how this draft goes because it is going to be a lot different than what I've done previously. I can't really rely on my word counts per hour at this point. I think I still will track my word counts per hour, but I think it's going to be very different for this draft. It's probably going to be a lot lower. And I think it's going to take much longer for me to write this draft, like many more months than the last draft. The last draft I wrote in less than 2 months, and I think it will take much longer than that to write draft 3. The plan is to write for this afternoon and this evening. This is the longest chunk of time that I have pretty much in the whole next week. And for this vlog, I'm going to focus on the first 1 to 2 chapters. I'm not quite sure yet because, as I just said, I don't know how long it's going to take me to do this, so I can't really accurately judge yet how many chapters I'm going to get through in the time period that I have. But that's what this process is all about, is learning and getting a handle on my writing ability. So I'm ready to go ahead and start writing. I'm going to pour myself a tea and get right into it. I have had quite a busy day. I did not get as much writing done as I wanted to. Again, lots of stuff I need to take care of. But I did make good progress, and I'm actually kind of surprised at the progress I made with what I had planned to do today. I am actually halfway done with chapter 1 already. I have finished the first scene in chapter 1. Chapter 1 has 2 scenes, and I reached 1,500 words, which for one day is pretty good. It has been a bit slow, and I expected that, not only because of my draft approach, which is trying to include the new plot and making sure I do character arcs and making sure my writing is better, but it's chapter 1. I always struggle with chapter 1 I don't know what it is. I have problems getting going through chapter 1. And the struggle I was really having today was trying to balance telling the reader what they need to know versus telling the reader what I want them to know. There's a big difference there. My book has quite a bit of backstory, as does every book, really. But I'm just struggling with how much backstory do I include in the first chapter versus how much do I hang on to until later chapters. And in my second draft, I did a bunch of backstory in the first chapter, and I wanted to pare that down a little bit, but now I'm worried I may have done it a little too much. And one thing I have been doing is going back and reading what I've written. So I'll go back like 3 or 4 paragraphs and reread it and say, okay, did I include what I needed to? Did I leave out something that's important for the reader to know? It's caused me to spend a little bit more time actually thinking instead of writing, which is a little weird since I'm trying to write a draft. But I'm really happy with my slower approach to this draft. I think my writing is monumentally better, and I think my story is coming along well too. It's giving me a lot of opportunity to fix mistakes that in the past I was very eager to gloss over. So often in drafts 1 and 2, when I was writing, I would be in the middle of writing a sentence and I would be like, I don't like the way this sounds, or I should have inserted XYZ in here, but I'll just do that in the next draft. I said that so many times for so many things, and now at this draft, I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I am at the point where if I see something wrong, I need to fix it because I can't keep pushing this stuff off to the next draft. And even though it's taking a longer time to get through this draft, it is so much more satisfying to work on this draft and know that every problem I immediately see is being fixed, and that what is on the page is, quite frankly, my best work. It's just really nice to read what I wrote and be happy with it for once. It's so weird. Like, I don't know why I didn't kind of slow down before. I mean, yes, you always want to get your story out, but maybe I should have taken a little more time in the past to really work through some details, because I just am so happy with this. Are there problems with this? Yes, there are. I already know that this draft isn't going to be perfect, but right now, this is just hands down so much better than draft 2. I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can do over the next few days. Hopefully I can finish chapter 1 within the next day or 2. That would be really amazing. And then I can get started on chapter 2. And the goal is just to keep moving along on this draft and making a really good book. As far as when I work on this book next, I think it will probably be tomorrow night. I'm not really sure. Busy schedules. It really kind of stinks because I'm making such great progress and I'm super excited about how this is going, and to have to stop and not work on it again for a long time is in like maybe 24 hours. It's just a little disheartening because all I want to do right now is write this and work on this until I get to the point where I need a break. But that's not life. I'm just really excited to end the evening on a high note, and I'm looking forward to finishing chapter 1. Chapter 1 is complete, and I have ended it at 2,980 words. So that's practically a 3,000 word chapter. I don't know yet if that's good or bad. And one thing I'm going to do going forward is in my chapter by chapter outline, I'm going to go ahead and make another column and put that column as a word count column. So that way I have word counts for each chapter listed. I think this will help me as I go along to gauge my chapter length, which I really had no clue about before. So this way I can see, am I having chapters of consistent lengths? Is there one that is super short? Is there one that is super long? I think it'll just help me in the future, especially as I go through an editing stage where maybe I need to reduce word counts at some point. I think this will really help me overall in terms of tracking my progress. I'm really happy with where chapter 1 is. It still needs a little bit of work. As I was going through, I was realizing things I forgot to put in, or things that seemed a little out of order, or something that just needed a little more introspection or description. The writing is so much better and I'm a lot happier with it. Instead of moving on to chapter 2, I have a different plan. I'm gonna go back and reread chapter 1 and make another round of edits to that chapter. Because I was noting things as I was writing, I wanna go through and read it again and make sure I address the things that I noted and see if there's anything else I can catch as I read it. I'm not planning on perfecting this chapter by any means, but I want to read it and feel confident in the contents and make sure that it flows and that from a reader's perspective, it all makes sense. So it took me 3 days to write the first chapter. I am going to spend just one day tomorrow, well, a little bit more tonight because it's early in the night, and then most of the day tomorrow, I'm going to work on just reviewing and editing this chapter. I'm gonna tinker around with it, and there will be a point where I tell myself to stop, and I will, because I don't want to get caught up in revising the same chapter for days on end. I do want to move on to chapter 2. I'm looking forward to this revising and editing in real time because I think that I really enjoyed this part of the process. As I was going through chapter 1, since I'm redoing it in the version that I say from draft 2, this isn't a brand new document, like blank document, I'm able to see what I wrote before and kind of use that or tweak that while I'm rewriting the chapter. And it's very interesting because I like some things and I don't like some things. So sometimes I write a brand new sentence and sometimes I keep the old sentence. And sometimes I reword the sentence that I have so it just sounds better. There's a lot of things that you can do when you're kind of editing a chapter like this, when you're looking at your old stuff and just trying to improve it. And so I want to spend a little more time doing that tomorrow. So kind of doing this deep dive revision on chapter 1 will be my next step. I am interested to see how it goes because it may or may not be something I continue to do in future chapters. And I will talk to you when I finish doing that for the first chapter and let you know how that went and if I plan to continue it. I'm now on day 4 of trying to write chapter 1 of my book, and I am almost finished. I'm gonna call it finished for now, but there's one thing left that I still need to do, but that's gonna be a little more complicated. I'll talk about that in a minute. The total word count for my chapter is 3,756. I personally think that's maybe a little too much. I could probably cut some things here and there, but it seems a little long to me. I think it includes everything that I need to include. I'm just gonna let it sit for a while because I have been reading it and rereading it and reworking it for 4 days now, and it's just, I know when I'm oversaturated in what I'm doing, and that is chapter 1 for me right now, and it's just best if I move on. The one issue I still have with chapter 1 is a certain plot point. I have always struggled with how to bring the plot point into the beginning of the book. The best way to describe it is I need to drop some background information, not a ton, like maybe a sentence or two, but I need to emphasize its importance because it is important and it's something that's on my character's mind, but it's not on their mind for like the first few chapters. There's something a little more immediate. And I'm just having a hard time figuring out how to work those few sentences in. And I have spent so much time going over what I've already got that to insert something else now and try and find a place to put it and all that stuff, it just seems like too much. So I'm gonna take a breather from that. And what I think I may do is move on to the next chapter and see if there's opportunity to include it in there. And if there is, that's great. And if there's not, then maybe I need to sit down and think about where to really put it. In case you were curious, I did actually have the plot point in the first chapter in draft 2, but my draft 2 is now so long that I'm worried if I put it in there now, it's gonna add like more of a conversation in there and there's gonna be a lot more words. And I don't want my first chapter to be so long that readers like are tired of it and they don't want to finish reading it. Anyway, that's something I'm gonna deliberate over the next few days. I'm not worried about it right now. I know how to incorporate it and what I need to say. I just need to know where. But other than that, taking the day to reread the chapter and revise it was 100% a smart move. Rereading it from a somewhat fresh perspective and reading it from top to bottom and just fixing grammatical errors, or if I missed a word, like a lot of times I miss like the or a or something like that when I'm typing. I guess I'm just typing too fast that it doesn't go in the Word document. So I just take time to fill in that stuff, make sure it reads well. I use that opportunity to catch if anything I write sounds repetitive. I make sure that the information is flowing. And then I'm making sure also that I have everything I want in there. And I think it was fun for me to have multiple things to look at. In the past, I've really focused on one thing. It could be writing the story, like let me just get the plot out. It could be let me focus on the characters and let me make sure the character arc is good through this chapter. And I've never focused on multiple things at once, and I think it was fun because my mind was like constantly analyzing and switching and evaluating. I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff. You know, this wasn't a let me make this chapter perfect kind of revision. It was a let me make this chapter good. And I've accomplished that. And that was my goal for this whole draft, is to make it good. So for this vlog, I'm gonna write one more chapter, chapter 2, and my hope is that I can get through it a lot more quickly than I did chapter 1. I always struggle with chapter 1 just because it's the first chapter. You want to make it interesting, and I struggle with that. I'm pretty sure that chapter 2, I'll be able to move through a lot more quickly. It's also one of those scenes that I absolutely adore in my book, and that helps because I'll be really excited to work on it. So I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I'm gonna give myself the rest of the night off because I'm so proud of myself. I deserve a break. So I will get started on rewriting chapter 2 for draft 3 tomorrow. Done with the second chapter. This one went a lot more quickly just because it's a shorter chapter in general. Let me see what the word count was for this chapter. So the word count for chapter 2 was 1,749. This is about half the word count of chapter 1. My total word count so far for the entire draft 3 is 5,657. I'm off to a really good start. That's over 4 days. And honestly, if I had to estimate right now, I'm averaging about 1,000 words a day in terms of what I'm able to write and edit. This is definitely a much slower process than what I'm used to doing, but I'm finding I rather enjoy it. It's fun to make what I have better. And I think I may have talked about this before. I honestly can't remember. This vlog has dragged on for quite a few days, but I really do like this approach, at least for like a later draft, because the difference in quality between draft 2 and draft 3 is monumental. I think that these chapters are so much better, and when I finish, I am just really happy with it. And honestly, it's been very rarely that I finish a chapter and I'm really pleased with it. And so far for the first 2 chapters, I am. I did figure out where I wanted to put, I know I had talked about this one little kind of backstory plot thing, and I did decide where I want to put it. I want to put it in the first chapter. It's going to be so insanely long, but that's the way it is. And I will worry about that later. Because that's going to end up being part of a chapter where I'm going to have to figure out how to condense it. And I want to put in the information I want to put in now. And then in the 4th draft, I can think about cutting and rearranging, just in terms of trying to manage the word count. But that's about it. I don't really have too much more to say. I think it's going really well. I'm really happy with the progress and the improvements that I'm making. And I just started this draft, and things changed throughout the whole course of the draft, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this draft goes.